We continue this morning's program with a panel discussion, Navigating the Research Landscape, Challenges and Strategies for Early Career Scientists. The panel features Prof. Adi Shamir, Prof. Duncan Haldane, Prof. Madhavi Srinivasan, Prof. Sir Richard Roberts. Moderating the panel today will be Dr. Shireen, Principal Scientist and Group Leader of the Biomanufacturing Devices Group in A-Star Bioprocessing Technology Institute. Please warmly welcome the panel and our moderator, and will now hand over the session over to Dr. Goh.
Dear GYSS participants, welcome to the Navigating the Research Landscape, Challenges and Strategies for Early Career Scientists panel. My name is Shireen and I will be your facilitator for today's discussion. It is wonderful to see so many young and promising scientists from all over the world gathered in this auditorium. I'm sure you're all very excited about a career in science. At the same time, you're probably worried or curious about the challenges that lies ahead. A career in science is definitely not one of the easiest career paths to choose from, but at the same time, it is also the most intellectually satisfying. And you're almost guaranteed to never have a boring day at work, be it in a good way, and sometimes even in a bad way. Today, we have with us our panelists, probably the most prominent scientists we'll ever meet in our lifetime, to help you navigate through a future career in science. To be perfectly honest, our panelists today require no introduction, but I will try my best. Our first panel member is Professor Sir Richard Roberts, who won the 1993 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for the discovery of split genes. This discovery has radically changed our understanding on the mechanism behind genetic mutations in evolution, cancers, and congenital diseases. Sir Robert is also passionate about correcting scientific misunderstandings among the general public. He has recently supported the use of GMO for plant breeding in developing nations. Our second panel member, Professor Duncan Haldane, who won the 2016 Nobel Prize in Physics for his topological model for exotic matters like superconductors, superfluids, and thin magnetic films. His mathematical model has opened up a new areas of research which has a big impact on quantum computing. Our third panel member is Professor Adi Shamir, who won the 2002 Turing Award for his contribution to public key cryptography. His algorithm to derive a private key requires a factoring of the product of two large prime numbers, which is currently impossible to solve. This enables public key cryptography to be used widely for internet-based transactions, keeping our online shopping safe. Our final panel member is Professor Srinivasan Madhavi, who won the 2019 Asia's Top Sustainability Superwoman Award for her work on novel energy storage solutions and recycling of e-waste and lithium-ion batteries. She has discovered microbes that can harvest lithium ions from used batteries, making lithium recyclable sustainable, meeting our goals for a circular bioeconomy. Without much further ado, let's open the floor for questions from our promising young scientists in the audience. All right.
Well, maybe I'll start by giving you my 3 pieces of advice. And this will probably warm you up, and then you'll queue up to the microphones. So I'm often asked this question, and I've tried to distill my experience into 3 pieces. So the first piece of advice for any young scientist is read, read, read. It's extremely important to read what other people are thinking, and not only in your field, but also in other fields. Go to lectures by good scientists, even if they are in a completely different field. You might not understand half of what is being said, but you'll get something. And surprisingly often, what you've heard years ago, or what you read in an article 5 years earlier, suddenly clicks into place and becomes very applicable to a problem that you are now considering. It happened to me again and again. So in the past, because I was working in a new field of cryptography, and there were very few publications, I used to read every single paper that appeared in my field. And then it became impossible. So I switched to another system in which I tried to read every single abstract of a paper which appeared in my field. And it worked for a while. Now the number of papers is so big that I'm reading every single title of a paper in my field. And I'm about to lose this option also. So second piece of advice, cooperate. In science, 1 + 1 is not 2 and not 3, maybe 10. I know that my invention of RSA wouldn't have been possible without my two colleagues, Rivest and Adelman. Each one of us came from a different angle, had different ideas, and I'm sure that no single one among us would have come up to that particular solution. So just talk to everyone else, try to have joint research projects. It will greatly advance your career. Don't work on your own, fearing that people will steal your ideas or anything like this. Just go out, tell other people about what you are doing, try to find intersection points and cooperate. And the third piece of advice is how should you divide your time working on different kinds of problems. So here my advice is the following. You should spend about 25% of your time on impossibly difficult problems, things which you have almost no chance of solving. They are likely to be a waste of time. These are the moonshots. But it's very important because this is what is going to make you world famous, if you solve any one of those really big, hard problems. But don't spend 100% of your time on those. Then spend another 25% of your time on frivolous problems, things which have no, kind of quizzes and games and things that you just read a question somewhere and you start thinking about it. Most of those are unlikely to lead to publishable papers, but from time to time you will find new ideas, new ways how to look at problems, but just playing, trying to solve quizzes. And the remaining 50% of your time, work on medium complexity problems, those which will be the bulk of your CV. These are all going to lead to publishable results, very nice ones. And this is where you should spend about half your time. But don't forget to work on the extremely hard and also to play with science. Thank you.
Thanks for the good advice. Really, really good warm up. And I can see there's a queue now. So great. Let's take the first question from that side. The young lady, please.
Hi. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, from this angle. I just wanted to ask, how did you start your careers, each of you, when you were early career scientists? And did you expect to be where you are today? Did you have any doubts, or were you always confident?
Well, I think everyone has doubts, and of course, the first step is to find an advisor to do a PhD with, and you should seek out mentors if you possibly can, because you really need to learn from seeing other people thinking and finding a way for yourself to think and handle problems, and just seeing how other people do it is a big step in helping you to grow into this. And the other thing is, I think once you've finished your PhD, it's important not to keep on doing the same thing. You should, in science, it's the sideways steps that are important, and often you know, you get these from, as we heard, from going to talks and hearing about other things that are happening. And often if you can see some connection to things that you already know about, maybe you have a different perspective from your point of view from what the speaker was talking about. So sometimes you can see ways that you can make a sideways motion. It's very rare to make a complete step to something that has no connection to what you did before, although that can happen. But basically not going on a straight path and continuing your thesis work as you in your postdoc or whatever. It's most important to kind of to branch out and get a wider view of your field.
Maybe if I can add, I started out as no different as any one of you sitting here. It was very similar. Self-doubt, of course, a lot of self-doubt day in and day out. But the challenge is to try to overcome it rather than focusing on the self-doubt, is to try to overcome it and take actionable items to overcome it. Your third point was, did you see where you will be today? No, I don't think so. But there was a vision of where a person has to be, and they need to constantly work towards that. I think that's what I think.
So I followed some of the advice we heard earlier. I'm a great believer in reading. I read a book that suggested how one became a detective when I was very young. I thought this was what I was going to do with my life. I was quite convinced that this was what I was going to do. And then my father bought me a chemistry set, and I started doing chemistry. And that lasted until I got my PhD, and then I read a book about molecular biology, decided I wanted to be a molecular biologist, so I switched and went to a postdoc, applied to 6 labs, only one took me, but that was all it needed. And then I ended up going to Cold Spring Harbor, and I went there to sequence DNA using old-fashioned methods, and I discovered there were a couple of people, a couple of groups already doing what I'd been tasked to do, and so I decided to do something different. I've always tended to go to lectures. Lectures are very good outside of your field, because you just never know when you'll hear about something that is much more interesting than you're doing at the moment. And if that's true, don't be afraid to switch. Just switch, just do it. I'm a big believer in failure. I think the times we really learn are when we fail. The discovery for which I won the Nobel Prize was strictly because a really clever experiment that I thought of failed. And we tried to work out why and ended up making a huge discovery. And so an awful lot of discovery in science is pure luck. But when things fail, always do a post-mortem and find out why it's worth it. Did I ever think I was going to win a Nobel Prize? Well, in 1977, we did the key experiment on a Tuesday morning, and in the afternoon, everybody was talking about Nobel Prizes, and it was the first time I ever thought about it.
I can tell you about my early career, very early career. I published a paper about the RSA crypto system 3 months into my postdoc. I was extremely lucky. I was not a cryptographer. I never thought about cryptography before I arrived at MIT in early '77. So I completely switched to a new field because I read a paper which asked, could anyone invent a crypto system which has these properties? If you could, you'll solve very interesting results. Now, I have to thank the US government for making it extremely difficult at that time to work in cryptography. It was considered to be born secret kind of thing. So you are not supposed to publish anything. There were almost no articles, no books about cryptography, and there were even laws that cryptography could not be exported to foreign countries and to foreigners. I'm a foreigner. I worked at MIT, but I'm an Israeli. So actually, the lawyers at MIT told me at some point that reading strictly the law, I'm not allowed to read my own papers. So coming into this situation where no one was allowed to publish anything And I came up with one of the first few ideas in this field, made it immediately a very well-known result. And the moment I realized that it is important was not immediately, but a few months later, because our idea was published, was described in an article by Martin Gardner in Scientific American. And we made the stupid mistake of promising anyone who wants further information. Of course, today you send it you publish it on archive or whatever, but at that time we said anyone who will send us a stamped self-addressed envelope will get a copy of our paper. And I went away for the whole summer backpacking in Alaska. At that time there were no cellular phones, no internet. I was totally out of contact. I came back at the end of the summer in the weekend, opened the door to my office, and they used my office in order to store all the thousands and thousands of self-addressed stamped envelopes which arrived by mail. So I was almost killed by the avalanche falling on me when I opened the door. And people from all over the world were asking for copies. So this was a sudden realization that maybe we've done something important.
Great, thanks so much.
By the way, we had to stuff the 7,000 papers into the 7,000 envelopes. And this was a very hard job, so we invited all the graduate students at MIT for a pizza party. We gave each one a pizza in exchange for stuffing 100 papers into 100 envelopes.
Then you all got arrested?
Glad graduate students of MIT have other uses besides publishing paper. All right, so we will invite a question from the young man on this side now.
Hi, good morning. My question perhaps to Prof. Madhavi, sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Just because you are in the field I'm very close to, I wanted to find out what was your experience around mentorship. Were you intentional about getting a mentor? Did you have one? Or it happened by chance? Or you didn't have one at all? So what was the experience around that? Thank you.
Thanks, you pronounced my name perfectly there. I did not have a mentor in terms of mentorship. Looking back, I feel I should have put in conscious effort in looking forward for a mentor, which is something that I would advise all of you. But I was fortunate that I had several mentors. It just happened that way throughout my career. And I definitely believe that that plays a big role. So for me personally, I didn't have one, but I think I had multiple. Thank you.
Thanks. So I'll invite a question from that side now, from the young lady.
Hello, I'm Claire. I'm finishing my first postdoc and looking towards applying shortly for faculty positions. And my question is if you have any advice. Specifically, I'm struggling with coming up with the large research ideas that are going to fund my group for 5-10 years or so, that are different from my PhD, different from my postdoc, and new to the whole world, right? This seems a bit challenging for me. I know when you guys all were applying for your professorship jobs, probably the landscape was a bit different. So I'm wondering if you can draw on any advice you've given to successful postdocs who then went on to get faculty positions, or if you've been on hiring committees where you've watched candidates be successful or unsuccessful.
Well, I would say don't rule out a second postdoc. Because
I'm starting my second postdoc on Monday.
Okay. because postdocs are the time you can actually concentrate on research without all the other things that come with being a junior faculty member. So actually, postdocs are a very liberating time for developing your research. You will probably, certainly as part of your application for positions, you're going to have to include your research statement and your dreams of what exactly you want to branch out into and develop as a research program. You need to present a vision, I think, that will resonate with the committee who are evaluating. It doesn't have to. It just has to be a realistic program. It doesn't have to be something that you already know that you can do. And in fact, for presenting it to the funding agencies, again, it's the vision that's presented. It's got to be an interesting vision and not unrealistic, right? Yeah.
If you are lucky to get multiple offers, then my advice is to put first and foremost the quality of the university. So go to the very best university that you have an offer from, regardless of what are the financial conditions and whether you'll have to teach or not to teach, and all these considerations are secondary. If you go to the very best university, you'll do the very best work, cooperate with the very best people. So this is extremely important.
If I can just add, I agree with all the advice, is to start writing proposals. You know, there's not one aha moment that you will write one big grant and you'll get it. Start writing proposals, start putting ideas together. At the end, some might make sense when you put together, some might not. And start applying to start getting some feedback. And if you're talking about big grants, collaborate. I think it was said before. Collaborate, cross-collaborate, very important, not just in your area. For big grants, it's really the culmination of multiple pieces of puzzles. So start that right away, is just my thoughts.
Yeah, I would just add something. I think it's really important to have what I call a bread and butter project in mind, something that you know is going to work, you know that you're going to get some publications from it, but then have a secondary project, which is the risky one, the one that you think, and when you apply for a job, you can present both of these. The bread and butter project, they'll realize that you're going to be able to get funding for it. And the other one, if you're lucky, someone on the committee will say, hey, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? And then you've got a job.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and don't get crushed the first time you get a rejection. Some people get so crushed they kind of give up. No, you need to just let it water under the bridge, write again, different agencies if possible, and reformulate your proposal based on what feedback, if any, you get. Yeah. But don't be crushed by an initial failure.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks for the encouraging advice to the young scientist. And now we'll invite a question from this side. Yeah.
I am David Azulay from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and now I'm looking for a postdoc. But I wanted to ask you, like, related with the comments about navigating and changing between topics, like, in what step of your career would be most suitable to do that changes? And also, how extreme could you or should it be, the change?
So as was said before, switching from PhD to postdoc, it is crucial to switch to a new line of research, but then stick for several years in the same field. So don't jump from one field to another every 6 months. This is going to look very bad in your CV. But you know, after working for a few years on a topic, it's perfectly okay to decide that something else is exciting you more. I've switched within cryptography and more generally complexity theory and computer science at least 5 or 6 times from sub-area to sub-area, and just follow your hunches. If you feel that you've exhausted a particular field, it doesn't interest you anymore, you are fed up with it, or you are more excited about something else, don't hesitate after working for several years to switch to something new.
Yeah. And also, like, related with the comment that you say about the university and the, like, that it should be like an important institution and all that, like, also in every, you should, like, aim for that in every step of your career, or like just when getting a faculty position, or for example for a postdoc, that should be more important to see, like, if it's an important or rename the university versus the PI, or...
Well, you have to choose among what the options are actually available to you, right? Yeah. You have to make the best of what's available. You can't say, I'm not give up because you didn't get an offer from Harvard. Yeah.
So, or you could do what I did, and I applied to 6 places. One offered me a job. It was Wisconsin. And 2 months before I had to go, the professor I was applying to said, "Oh, can you wait for a while? I'm moving to Harvard." So luck can be important too. I think all of us know that luck is just incredibly important. But the secret to luck is to take advantage of it when it comes your way. Don't feel guilty because you had it and somebody else didn't. Luck is incredibly important in research. And I would say there are 2 times when it's really easy to change fields. One is when you go to be a postdoc, and the other is when you get your first job. There, it's in both cases, it's easy to switch fields. Once you get a faculty position and get going, it becomes much more difficult to change course and to do something different.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, I'll invite a question from that side.
I would like to ask advice to handle with the deluge of publications that we have today. Like it's, as Professor mentioned, you can barely read the titles of publications in your field. So what are your strategies to find the good publications that you need to pay attention?
Talk to people. So basically, you should let other people tell you about an amazingly interesting publication they've seen and hear about it in seminars and talks. It's completely impossible to read, you know, what emerged on the archive in the last month or something. Or you need to you need to be communicating with people and learn from and learn what exactly is the exciting thing that people are excited about, and hopefully you get to hear not too late about all this stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Also, don't just read papers from archive. Go to the best conferences. Conferences are not perfect at choosing important papers. There are many known failure cases. But usually, in the best conference in your field, the best papers of the last few months will appear. And just sit there and listen to those talks. It's a great way to concentrate on the things that you should pay attention to.
Very efficient way as well. Yeah.
Yes.
I always advise making sure you read Nature and Science, the news and views. And, you know, you often find out about new things that are happening. And sometimes you say, hey, I could use that. And then you can go and read the papers that the column refers to. But I think it's a very good way to easily keep up with most of the advances in science, just with the news and views.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And now I'll invite a question from this side.
Hi, my name is Yong Rui, and I'm doing a PhD in theoretical chemistry at UCSD. So my question is about the fact that in science we have a lot of opinions, which I think defines us as an individual, but it also brings a lot of disagreements. And as an early career scientist, I think people often find it hard to speak up against the canonical, the well-established, well-accepted view. So to what extent do you think we should speak up? How should we do that? And is it important for our career?
Maybe I'll take that. I have never had a problem with speaking up. I tell everybody what I think, and I try to influence people whenever I can. I run a lot of Nobel campaigns, but that's something that I discovered after I won the Nobel Prize, that all of a sudden people were listening to me. Previously, I thought maybe they were, but I wasn't quite sure. But I think if you find something that is not correct, that's not right, you don't feel that it's, speak up, speak up. And I think this is especially important for ladies. I think I've been reading some books recently about what's been happening to ladies in science. There's a couple of very good books. One of them is called The Exceptions by Kate Zernike. Talks about a lady at MIT, Nancy Hopkins, who was being mistreated, and she went on and got some action. She got the president of MIT to change policy at MIT. I've just read another book called Invisible Women, which has a lot of data about how we men tend to treat women poorly, not necessarily deliberately, but just poorly. And I think we need to speak up about these things. I was very distressed when I saw the speaker lineup at this conference. All but one was a man. There was one woman, 14 men invited to talk. You know, we're good role models for men, perhaps, but I think not necessarily such good role models for women. And so I think when I see things like this going on, I want to speak up about it. I want to see change. I want to see things. And I think the younger you start doing that, the better person you will be and the better scientist you will be.
Okay. I guess the question was probably about... Speaking up about ideas in quantum chemistry, right?
Or in general.
Yeah, in general. Okay, well, those are the general thing. I mean, if you shouldn't be afraid to, come up with your idea, and maybe someone will explain to you why it's wrong, and maybe it was wrong, right? So you need to get feedback on your ideas, and I don't see why you shouldn't speak up about them.
And it's okay to be wrong. Doesn't matter, because you will learn as a result of talking to people, and perhaps people will present the facts and show why you're wrong. That's perfectly okay. But do speak up. Don't just be a little shadow somewhere and hide. Speak up.
Just to formulate one's ideas, it's just the attempt to explain them to somebody else is a crucial part of clarifying in your own mind what exactly your idea is, and then you can see whether it's actually got validity or not. But, formulating ideas, the best thing to do is actually talk to other people. Science, I mean, is a social activity. Basically, there's very few lone scientists like who are sitting in their office, in the patent office in Bern or whatever, and coming up with amazing things. But most of the time, one gets one's ideas about what to work on and how to from talking with other people and in the field. And it's the most important part of science is building up social connections and being able to discuss science with your peers. Yeah.
I want to qualify the advice about speaking up. As a young scientist, you should distinguish carefully between two kinds of speaking up. One is when you object to the interpretation given by the speaker at the conference, for example, that you have an alternative explanation, etc. You can raise your hand, ask the question, suggest your ideas, etc. The more irritating type, which I would advise against, is the self-promotion. There are some young people who say after every talk, I've thought about it, and here is a reference in my paper from 2 years ago. This irritates people, so don't do the self-promotion, but if you have a suggestion about the science being presented, then speak up by all means.
I think we should ask Madhavi to say something, because I suspect she probably has some strong opinions here.
No, I thank you for actually resonating my opinion very well. That's why I'm just going to sit quiet. And speaking up is definitely important, women, men, and I definitely agree that women should do more. I really definitely agree with the comment that it has to be constructive and not just speak up for the sake of speaking up. It's just going to take up your time. Is it going to reflect on something? Probably not. And speaking up is not the first thing that we're all in science to do. I think the science needs to be done. The depth needs to be understood. You need to understand and reflect before you speak up and sort of point out to some issues. And the best part is discussing amongst your colleagues, your friends first on your thoughts before you actually go and speak up. So thank you for that. All of you said wonderful comments, so I didn't have to say anything.
I think your comment is pretty good as well. So I think it's good to actually think a little bit before speaking up. And I also think that as you speak up as well, as you actually talk to other people, that's how you test your ideas as well. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, yes, a question from you, please.
Yeah, hi, I am Miao from Tokyo Institute of Technology. I'm actually starting my PhD study, and because you are already the most successful persons in the world, and I wonder, have you ever had some peer pressure, and have you ever followed the trendy topics in the field of science, and how can you gain confidence and stick to your own path? That's all. Thank you.
Well, I think, that it's not a bad thing to follow the trendy topics, because you actually do want to be doing work that other people are interested in, right? So, we shouldn't be slavishly following every trend and neglecting an interesting line that you may have found for yourself. But it's good to actually work in an area where there's other people working on it. That gives you more opportunity to discuss ideas with them. And so, of course, if everyone in your field is following one trend, that makes it, ultra competitive, and that's also not a good thing. But to actually not follow a trend, if you've got some really good alternative, great, but pay attention to what the people in your field are actually excited about.
But please try to join a hot new trend at the leading edge, at the beginning. Yeah. That's when you still have low-hanging fruits that you can pick. That's when new sub-areas might emerge. Don't take a field which had been very hot and trendy, but it's on the trailing edge. It's in decline. That's a losing proposition.
So if I can add, I don't know what I'm going to say is going to comfort you. You're going to feel peer pressure all the time, your career. I don't think it stops. But take it in a positive sense. Peer pressure helps sometimes. It nudges you. So I think sometimes it can be a good thing the way you take it. Second thing about trendy topics is, remember, trendy topics are trendy. They're going to keep changing. So you can't jump and go behind a trendy topic. You need to go with the topic of your interest and give it your best. And if luck is, it might be the trendy topic of the day today or later. If we are not sure, as the advice was given before, is have your core interest and sort of touch waters on the trendy topic to see whether that is for you. But I would not recommend just running behind trendy topics day in and day out, because they change. Yep.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Now we'd like to invite a question from this side.
Okay, Professor, thank you for your discussion. My name is Ye Zhang. I'm from Hiroshima University in Japan. So currently, in my kind of research is about concrete science, and since you mentioned we write proposals to ask for fundings and cooperations, but sometimes when we get rejections from one specific group or its sponsors, so should we keep trimming the same proposal until it's satisfied, or should we take the same proposal and seeking other people who are more interested in our research? So that is some kind of problem that is bugging me. I would like to know your comments and thoughts on that. Thank you.
Well, take seriously whatever feedback you get. If people say we're not interested in that, then that's not the place to apply, send your proposal to. But to the extent you have a variety of places to submit it to, just submit it to the whole lot.
So if I can add my comment, I think you can try to trim it once, taking the feedback. But if it multiple times trimming, after one time, I would say there's something that really needs to be done to that proposal if it is being rejected. So it's a good idea to take a deeper look at it. Even from the angle, it can still be in concrete, right? But what's missing? Maybe there's a novelty that's missing. Maybe the practical application is missing. So I would suggest one-time trimming is good. 3, 4, 5 times trimming is probably not worth the effort of the same proposal, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Talking about rejections, some of the most famous papers in my field had been rejected several times from the leading conferences. For example, for those of you who know about zero-knowledge interactive proofs, it was an idea that dominated my field for about 20 years, and it was rejected from 2 of the best conferences as a crazy idea which will never have any applications. And then it turned out that it has important applications. It was accepted. So I agree that up to 3 times is the magic number. Don't overdo it beyond 3.
I would agree with most of what's been said. there's no point in flogging a dead horse, right? Not going to move. So don't spend a huge amount of time on it. But I think if you can get feedback from some people who sit on the panels that look at these, and what I did in my case was to actually get onto one of these panels so that I could see what the reviewers were looking for. And that turned out to be very, very helpful in my case. So there are ways in which you can try to find out how these panels begin to think about your work and then tailor the proposal appropriately.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. We'll invite some question on that side, please.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lara Abdeen, a research fellow from the University of Southampton in the UK. My question is quite personal and broad, so please just answer as you feel comfortable. But I'm at a stage in my career where I'm moving, I guess, more towards mid-career and really thinking about big life decisions with regards to that career trajectory, even potentially leaving academia, industry, teaching, etc., and balancing that with family life, which is a consideration for most people, but I think particularly women. And so my question is really, do you have any suggestions or tips on how to kind of navigate these big decisions?
So maybe I will take it. I think this is normal. I think the crossroads you are in is normal, especially as you said, females face that. And I think there is nothing wrong in considering academia, industry, teaching according to your point in your personal life. But my only suggestion is to really consider deeply, try to juggle as much as possible before giving it up. Because I personally believe that giving something up is easier. Rebuilding, especially in the scientific career for women, you know, if you have a break there, when you come back, rebuilding your citation, your papers, unfortunately, is not as easy as our other counterparts. So I would just ask you to reconsider, or it can be something like if you really have thought about it and you want to move, probably you can still have some collaborations with groups where you still are in touch with research and academia with a dotted line. Would be my suggestion. But I'm more than happy to chit-chat with you after this to give some deeper insights if you still want some. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, questions? Sorry, just want to say something though, although I'm just a facilitator. But there are ways, I understand for women this is a problem, all right? But I think you can rethink your time as well. You know, research doesn't have to be day and night, 24/7. You know, you think about how you can use your time more efficiently. And I think that, you know, the world still needs your contribution. So if you think about it, I mean, as a woman, our family is important, but our dream and passion is also important. So try to rethink about how you're spending your time and don't think about, you know, I need to spend all my time in the lab, but maybe find a balance and give your best work in that, you know, office hours that you have. That's my advice. Yeah. Sorry, question on this side.
Could I make one point? The Nobel Prize winner in medicine this year, Kati Kariko, who actually was spoken about at the very start, she has written an autobiography which was published very recently. It is a wonderful read. She was beaten down right, left, and center, but she came through and she dealt with it as appropriate. But I would recommend that autobiography to everybody, both men and women. It's a very, very good story.
I have another comment. I'm a theoretician, and some of my best ideas came while I was taking a shower. So balancing home and work is not as difficult for theoreticians compared to people who have a lab to run.
So you really want many showers every day, is that what it is?
So if you're balancing family life, I think you do need a supportive partner or something, because it's not a question of, you know, how much time. You need some time without the pressure of whatever's happening around you to think about the problem. And then if you've got some concentrated time, you can be making progress on something. But you do need to have this kind of quiet time where someone else takes over the day-to-day issues.
All right, questions?
Hello, this is Prof. Shah. I'm currently a postdoc at the Singapore subsidiary of CNRS. I've heard of various famous scientists, for instance, Albert Einstein, who were pretty much introverted by nature. Is this really a case of popular narrators focusing on exceptions, or is being introverted really not as big an impediment to research as it is made to look like?
Was Einstein introverted? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah. I've read somewhere that he is, but I don't know for sure. Science, introvert, extrovert, and science, I don't think it's an impediment. In fact, a lot of my colleagues in science and my students are more on the introvert side, but that doesn't stop them from presenting, going to conference. So I personally don't think it's an impediment. Yeah.
I think that it will manifest itself in the strictest way when you give your first big scientific talk at a big conference. Introverts are going to feel terrible. They are going to sweat and they are going to struggle. But I believe that after you go through this experience, in the next few talks, even if you are an introvert, you'll just talk smoothly and then answer the questions later on. I don't see it as a handicap, except possibly, you know, when you're nervous in your first talk.
Okay, if you don't mind, may I ask a follow-up question? That because my field is computer science, you might be knowing that it has a deluge of papers, and the number of papers is rising at an exponential rate, while the rate of student or researcher intelligence isn't as much. So do you feel that if this goes on, then the research outputs will kind of saturate with time? Or
well, I think that eventually the population growth, you know, in the world stabilizes, and therefore the number of scientists is not going to continue to go exponentially. So we have a problem at the moment with the deluge of papers, but it's not something that will continue asymptotically. At some point, you know, people will just learn not to publish that much.
Yeah, I mean, the question is interesting papers, right? Probably not all of these papers are interesting or relevant to what you do. You should just be aware of the things that are happening that concern either the general field, general things, or more specifically, you know, obviously you'll get to know about what people who are doing similar things to you are doing, your competitors, basically. Yeah.
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, questions from that side, please.
Hi, my name is Debbie. I'm a research fellow at the Auckland Bioengineering Institute in New Zealand. Yesterday I went to a small group session with Professor Klaus and Professor Hugo, and Hugo said something that resonated with me, which is make a lot of mistakes as an early career scientist, and that's how you learn from them, but make smart mistakes. So I was wondering if any of you have any memorable smart mistakes that you made in your early career days that you could share with us, that we could perhaps make them or not make them.
Well, I remember a lot of mistakes, but I was just smart enough to correct them and work on them. That's how I remember my mistakes. So I don't know whether I qualify them as smart mistakes.
Well, of course, the famous mistakes are Einstein's mistakes, right? His greatest mistake, according to him, was the cosmological constant, which may well be the dark energy. And the other thing was he pointed out that quantum mechanics had this crazy property of entanglement. It meant it couldn't possibly be true, but it actually focused our attention. Now we think entanglement is the most central feature of quantum mechanics. So, you know, some mistakes can be very fruitful. So it's a good idea to have very fruitful mistakes.
I can think about the process of inventing RSA, and it took us about 3 months of thinking about it. And during these 3 months, we came up with numerous other proposals for a public key crypto system. And luckily, there were 3 of us, and here I go back to the issue of collaboration, and I would invent, for example, a scheme. I thought it was great, but then it would be broken by my colleague Len Adelman. And then Len would suggest an improvement, and then Ron Rivest will show how to break it. So it was this internal collaboration which we made lots of mistakes, but fortunately we caught it within the group, and the final result that came out of all this collaborative research was actually a correct one, as far as we know. So try to use these internal collaborations in order to double check your first few ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll invite a question from this side.
Yeah, hi. I'm Santi. I'm a researcher from Cancer Research UK Scotland Institute in Glasgow, and I'm also have a tenure position in Indonesia, where I originally come from. So my question is related to when dream and passion meet reality. So I think we discussed, my colleague from UK before discussed about work-life balance. And I think it's the skewed work-life balance in science is stem from the very competitive nature, which I think at the moment is beyond reasonable, as well as lack of funding and how the metrics of performance being measured. So my question to you all as a prominent scientist, you might have bigger and louder voices. Is there anything we can do to change the current situation? Like Madhavi mentioned to my colleague from UK that, oh, it's normal. We just need to get it through. That's what I do. I already pledged my life, the rest of my life to be in science, no matter how hard it is. But the thing is it really need to be this way? And is it really normal? I would challenge that this is not normal. So yeah, what do you think as a prominent scientist? Is there anything we can change? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. I have to first quantify my statement to say that my answer was not, it's normal, and we have to put up with it. I think that was a different context. More things definitely needs to be done towards women, and many universities are trying to do that. They are starting to have flexible work hours. So I am a firm believer that more things can be done. So I just want to start by saying, I didn't say it's normal and we have to put up with it. As a woman, I would never say that, right? So let me ask my fellow members to comment, and then I'll come back and circle back.
Well, I think you want to actually achieve something, right? And you have to make some sacrifice when you feel it's important enough for your life to achieve something, make some progress in whatever area it is. You then have to give up other parts of your life. And if you actually want to, I mean, you have to be able to find some time where you can concentrate without other things interrupting you to make progress. I mean, you can't just say, I'm going to make progress and hope it's going to happen. You've got to actually put some passion into it.
Okay, I would make a comment. I don't think that the term work-life balance is actually a good one.
No.
I've never considered I've worked in my life. I love science. I love doing experiments. I love discovering things. And so it's really a question of how you judge the time that you spent on your hobby as opposed to the time that you spent with family, taking care of family issues. And I've been very fortunate. My wife understands that I work a great deal. She maybe didn't understand it quite so much when we first got married, but after 37 years, she's gotten used to it. So that's helped. But she's been very supportive and very helpful. And, I try to do my best, but I just love what I do. It's not work. It really is not work. It's my hobby. I love it. And I think for most scientists, this tends to be true. You get involved in science, it's great. There's nothing better. I wake up in the morning, look at my computer, I make a discovery in the morning, maybe something trivial, but I love it. I see something that no one's ever seen before. You can't beat it. You absolutely can't beat it. So don't think about work-life balance, think about hobby work-life balance if you possibly can.
I also want to mention that life is full of conflicts. You are describing the conflict between work and family life, but I can think about dozens of other conflicts. Should you work in a boring job which pays a lot of money, or should you earn meager salary and be very satisfied with it? I can go on and on. So this is just one of the conflicts, and each one of us will have to navigate his own way.
But that's an easy one. Don't do it for the money.
Yeah, the passion. You need the inside you has to push you, and then you'll have to find a way to organize your life to give you the chance to do something.
Yeah, so I think just want to circle back, right? I think it's hard for women to balance because majority of the workload sometimes falls. So it's very important to have a supportive environment, both at work and also at home. And this can be done. It's a bit more challenging. And if this is not present, then you can start looking at how you can create that supportive system. Because science, technology is the fixed quantities are publishing, getting grants. You know, this is what the system is. So as females, as women, it would be prudent to look for systems, delegation, collaboration to make this work if that is your passion. If that is not, then the discussion is very different. If other sacrifices can't be made, then the discussion is totally very different, is what I want to say.
Okay, I just have a short comment on that. My question really not about me, it's about whether we need to challenge the system now or we just accept the status quo at the moment. I mean, like me, I really understand the hard work, blah, 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 things that I need to jump into, and I'm lucky I have a very supportive partners and things like that. But it's just there is an inner me that thinks that this is not going to be sustainable for the future scientists. Take examples of my son. He see that, oh, you love science so much, mommy, you're not looking at for money and things like that, but I don't want to be a scientist because your life is miserable. So how can we educate the young generation of scientists if, like it or not, the system is not working in terms of supporting young scientists? For example, there's very rare faculty position at the moment compared to how many postdocs or PhD students. And we can just keep fighting, and who reach there will reach there. But then is there anything else we can do to improve the situation in research? Like if you read a lot, like in Nature publication, the mental health situation is very bad among young scientists, as well as like that's hard now to get people to do postdoc, at least I heard in America, but also some part of the UK. So I just want to challenge the status quo, really. Thank you.
I just want to say one comment, right? Is when I was a PhD student, I didn't have a GYSS. So this, all of you are here, for me, is a proof that the system has been evolving. There are opportunities for you given, for you, all of you to come in. So just a comment to say that system is changing, but the speed can be faster, but things are happening. It's not all doom as what you're stating.
Thank you.
Also, I want to say, I mean, we shouldn't try to push our children to be scientists just because we're scientists, right? You have to actually go into science, you've got to have the drive within yourself to push you in that direction. You know, medical families often want the children to be doctors or whatever. The children have to work out they want to be a scientist. It's not.
Yeah, he lost the interest just by looking at me without me imposing it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I had the same problem with my 4 children. None of them wanted to be a scientist.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much. Just to share, my daughter wants to be a singer, so I don't think everyone wants to be a scientist. But I think, am I correct to say that your concerns are the competitiveness that scientists in this generation need to face and the number of KPIs that you need to meet? Correct. Right, there is indeed a need to publish or perish, but I think things are changing as well. We're moving towards higher impact work, so that instead of the number of publications, so that will help. The other thing is, I think, yes, there is a lot of graduate students to the number of faculty. That is a fact, right? Because, one faculty graduates 50 graduate students in his lifetime, but we don't expand universities at that rate. So this is actually a fact. But I think as scientists who want to do research, I think we can broaden a horizon. We don't have to do research only in universities. I mean, there are a lot of places in industry that high impact research is also being done. So I challenge you to use your PhD or your education in many different ways that could contribute to scientific ability, but not necessarily only in university.
Yeah,
So
I think
that helps.
we hope that we train people to learn how to think, and certainly not every person who does a PhD will end up in one of those university research jobs or a national lab. The important thing is that they've developed a way to think for themselves, to formulate a project, and could do useful things throughout society. It's not most people who do PhDs do not end up, it's a chain. You've got to have the luck to have done something in your early part of your thesis or your PhD or your postdoc or whatever that gives you an edge and pushes you forward to the next step. You really have to go with what's happening to yourself and not say you've got a right to continue as in an academic scientist career because you've got a PhD. It's not a unionized thing that you've got a qualification. And they're very useful. What you've learned is very useful for technology and things in general. So working in industry, I've worked in industry. I mean, working in industry is not a bad thing at all. And it's not necessarily true that the university is the best place you should be, and you should be a failure if you don't stay in the university.
Especially in computer science, I know it's not your field, some of the best work in experimental machine learning is done at places like OpenAI or Google or Microsoft, etc. And also, you should consider not only the big established companies, but startups. You know, if you have the passion and the energy to start a new company, it's a great alternative to an academic career. Great.
Great, good job. Yeah, congratulations.
Yes, and one thing to think about, I work for a company that was set up specifically to use the profits to support research, basic research, not applied research, basic. We started off back in 1975, 74. There were 3 people, the man who owned the company, his wife, and 1 technician when I joined them as a consultant. We're now 650 people worldwide. We have 100 people doing research, all paid for by profits from the company, totally. It's a model that works. It's a business model that can work. So there are many different ways in which you can use your science, follow science, have fun doing science. You don't have to think just in terms of an academic life or working for a company that is only interested in profits.
Great, thanks everyone. I think we're actually 2/3 way through our panel, so we have about 30 minutes left. So I think let's invite a question on this side.
So I'm Arpit Thomas from Shivnada Institute of Eminence. So continuing from the discussion that we were doing towards the later part, my question is related to bridging the gap between the research and the industry, because my work area of research is related to electrochemical water splitting and energy storage. So if we talk about hydrogen production, so one side we see lot many papers in reputed journals showing the value of amazing values, showing the lower over potentials. And one side we see the booming industries which need the production of hydrogen happening at a very good rate. So how we can align our research in such a way that they can actually help the industry? And the other part of the question is how we can actually connect to the industry so that our research, whatever we are doing at university level, that can actually be implemented inside the industries.
Well, try and talk to the people in industry and find out what they would be interested in you doing for them.
I also want to mention that most universities around the world have special programs to patent ideas which have industrial applications. So the Weizmann Institute, I think it is among the top 5 universities in terms of royalty income due to some very successful medicines that had been invented. So you can get a lot of support from such organizations within the university in case you have a patentable idea.
Yeah, get introductions to companies.
So I work a lot with industries and research, and I think it's really to go pitch your idea, talk to industries, talk to them. And industries are also happy to fund. You know, they have some funding for blue sky research, not too much blue sky, but a bit more of research that they can apply in 3-4 years. So I would encourage you to go have a discussion with them on that, and that will help you to tune your topic a bit more towards what the industry wants, if that's what you would like to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions on this side?
Hi, hello, professors. I'm Shi Ji, a postdoc from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So I'm in my second year of postdoc. Up to now, I enjoy my research journeys because I don't have to worry about the funding sources. My supervisors are responsible to search that. And they give me liberty and support me. But right now, I have to think about once I become independent researcher, I have to worry about the funding sources. To my knowledge, how to convince the providers that my research is useful is very important to succeed to acquire the funding sources. So I have a practical question. That is, have you ever been puzzled about the application, explorations, and discovery of the fundamentals? Yeah. So the discovery of the fundamental mechanism and exploring applications are two different directions. And so have you ever worried about when you submit your proposals, and what aspects are the most important aspects to define a good proposal? Thank you.
So let me try to clarify your question. So is your question saying that actually to apply for funding, right? Typically you need to actually have an application in mind or something impactful or something that, but what you want to do is more fundamental, is that right? Or you also want to have
more
time,
fundamental.
to do more fundamental. So how do you find the balance between trying to apply for funding, doing something that the funders will be interested in, at the same time you want to do something more exploratory that you cannot justify in a funding proposal? Is that your question?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
Well, I would say you don't have a right to funding. You have to tailor what you're proposing to whatever the funding agency wants. So if you have something you want to do on the side, I say as we said, you should have some percentage of your time devoted to long shots or whatever. You don't need to put that in your proposal, right? The proposal has to contain something which will resonate with the funding agency's panel that decides who gets grants. You can't say I demand a grant to work on this, that, and the other. You have to look and see what they want and tailor your proposal precisely along the lines of what they're actually looking for.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I have a confession to make. All scientists have secret projects, or we call it skunking, right? Yeah. Don't worry, we will, even with or without funding, we will be working on things that we're interested in as well. All right, great. Questions from this side?
Hello, I'm Kaori Sugiyama. I'm currently working as a junior faculty in the Waseda University in Tokyo, Japan. And my question is like how to consider my research field and how to consider the direction of the science, because my background is quite like complicated. So I got my PhD, my undergrad was photochemistry, and then my PhD was cardiovascular disease, and now I'm working for like Raman spectroscopy imaging. So, but when I wanna like submit my grant, I need to select the field of that grant, and I wanna submit my paper. Which journal should I submit it? Because that always the journal are specified this field and then this field, this field. But recently, like the people ask like, what's your expertise or what you are? So I always get lost. Who am I? What I can do? Maybe I can do like several places, but like I need to have some like specific expertise or something. So that's why like I would like to ask like, how can I consider my field, or how can I consider the background if it's getting complicated?
So multidisciplinary papers are the hardest to submit because they don't clearly fit into any particular journal or conference,
right,
to that matter. So the best advice is just to look at previous issues of the journal or previous meetings of that conference and see whether the choice of material which the previous committees have found interesting are somewhat related to what you are proposing. But if based on such cursory search through the contents is not sufficiently helpful, just consult with knowledgeable people. So talk to a professor in a similar field. Should I submit it to this journal or to that journal? And usually you'll get very good advice.
There should also be someone at your institute or university who can actually provide advice and help for this sort of thing. You know, most universities have an office that will help with this sort of thing. Professors will help, faculty members will help. Talk to people, ask them, and you can always publish in the bioarchive. And so that also is a way of getting something out fairly quickly. And it's surprising how many people pick up on papers that go into the bioarchive and then get back to you and start asking questions, and then that can help you decide where you want to publish the actual paper.
All right, so I come from a multidisciplinary area as well. My undergraduate was in applied physics. My PhD was in materials science, and I work in bioprocessing right now. So it's actually quite different. I think the identity is not really important, but I think for you, you look at the audience. Who are your target audience? That's how you choose the paper. If let's say your work has impact on a particular area and you want this group of audience to read, you publish in the journal that they read. I think that would be the best for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Questions from this side?
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Yeonji Park from Seoul National University, Korea. And this is my last year of master's degree, and I'm going to get a PhD because studying biology is really fun to me. This is my quick question. Can you give any advice to a student who is just getting a PhD? Because I've heard a lot that PhD is quite tough. Yeah, quite tough in Korea. Yes, thank you.
Well, I'll just start. I think consider choosing the right topic of interest if you're just starting. I'm assuming you haven't chosen the topic. The right university, I think it was spoken about that, and the right supervisor are the three things that comes to my mind that you need to start thinking.
You really just need to find out what you're passionate about. What do you love doing? Yeah. What aspect of biology really intrigues you? And then find the labs that are working in that area and write to them and ask if they will take you on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, another piece of advice, if you go to a conference and you hear an interesting talk, try to catch the speaker afterwards and ask him questions and try to check informally whether there are any way of working with them. So informal meetings, face-to-face meetings at conferences are very important. Try not to miss such opportunities.
Thanks. We do have 15 minutes left, so I think we can probably take about 3 to 5 questions. So on this slide, please.
So, hello, my name is Tian Shao, and I'm a student currently studying environmental science in the University of Tsukuba. I'm PhD third year. So my question is like a follow-up question to the earlier question regarding the trendy topics thing. So apparently I understand that interest is ever the best teacher for us, and we should really be doing what we are really interested in. But like realistically for our young researchers, there is problems for getting funds and getting outcomes, and apparently at sticking to those trendy topics make it easier. So like for example, like recently, like artificial intelligence and machine learning is becoming a really hot topic. So suddenly like every field is trying to have some connections with these kind of such topics. At least that's my impression by talking to those these brilliant brains these several days, like whether it's being chemistry, physics, biology, environmental science, everyone's trying to do something related to computer science and machine learning. So like my question is, what's your opinions like towards this trend of trendy topics?
I believe that machine learning had gone through wonderful transformation. 10 years ago, no one would have predicted that it would get so good at producing intelligible text, etc. So I think that if you can find a way how to apply machine learning to a new field where it hadn't been tested before, it's going to be a great idea. It's still not a ripe field. It's still evolving rapidly. There are still many things to discover in machine learning. So it's like, you sprinkle some pixie dust of machine learning on your proposal, and it will increase noticeably the chance of it being accepted.
Yes.
So try to use it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take some questions on this side.
Hello, I am Suman, and I am doing my second postdoc here in Singapore University of Technology and Design. So my question is more about, like, there is talk about finding the right university or the correct university. So at some point of time, like in your career, say as a faculty, you need to move to some other place, some other university. And sometimes you also get an option for doing a campus visit or like talking with people from the university. My question is, what are the things to know, to look for, or to ask in such a campus visit, or in general, like to find the correct location or the university that you want to work for say, a longer period of time? Like, what are the considerations to make there?
Just how you feel during your campus visit. You'll feel inside you, is this the place I would like to be? And then, of course, you have to try and then convince people that you're the right person for them.
My question was more in general, as in what are the things to look for? Like in a university or in a place, like, say, are there, like, can you look for some red flags, or can you look for some positive things when you visit there, and what are the things to know?
Okay, let me give you one piece of advice. In general, it is very good to work for young faculty members, okay, because they are much closer to whatever is going on experimentally than old farts like me who are way away from this, right? It's much better to go and work for someone young, but the key thing is always to find out what you want to do. What do you love doing? What are you really passionate about? Don't worry about the university. Just find out what it is you really want to do, find a young faculty member who is doing it, and then ask if you can join the lab. And they're more likely to take you on anyway, because they're looking for people. Again, it's old people like me who get large numbers of requests of people who want to come and work for me. the young people tend not to get so many. So find a good young person, go work with them, and then maybe you and that supervisor can win a Nobel Prize together. How about that?
Yeah, my question was more about when you join as a faculty. Like, say you joined some university. So what are the things that you looked for in the university when you joined? Like,
talk to the people there and ask, you know, what should I what do I need to succeed here, or what are the issues here, right? For talking to the people there, you'll find out, and they'll tell you, make sure you ask for a certain startup fund or whatever, right? So you need to just talk to people and see what response you get.
If you want a practical piece of advice, if you know nothing about a particular university, don't go there.
Yeah.
So usually there is a strong correlation between good university and good professors who are being accepted. So you can find something about the quality of university from the various rankings of universities. So the rankings are terrible, but they are better than nothing. So look at whether the university is ranked high in the various international comparisons. But pay attention, because the university might be very well known for one area, but it's not going to be very good in some other areas. So you have to look at the area ranking and not just the university ranking.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have 10 minutes left. Question on that side.
Hello, my name is Doreen Mlote. I'm a civil engineer and a PhD student here in Singapore, working in construction. So I have two questions that may or may not be connected to each other. So the first question is, I'm sure almost everyone in this room is looking up to you, all the achievements that you have made. Do you feel any kind of pressure to kind of maintain that track record, and how is that impacting the way you work? But my second question is, just like writers have writer's block, scientists, I mean, at least I do, usually have some scientist block where like I do not get any ideas and I feel stuck. Or sometimes you get demotivated and you do not see any results from a repeated trying of a certain experiment, for example. So how would you advise early career scientists to navigate those rough waters, and how can they get back up after that?
Well, if you've got a block, you need to get around it somehow. I find that, for example, doing some other activity, for example, teaching, as part of your time is thinking about a research problem, but if you're teaching, you also have to think about what you're teaching and the students, and maybe much lower level stuff than your research problem. But just the act of teaching, even at a basic level, often kind of unlocks things, unlocks these blocks, right? Just if you just keep saying, I'm going to work on this problem until I solve it, and you've got a block, that's not going to help you. But thinking about something else, and either a different research problem or I say, teaching or whatever, brings you around, and the blocks will, and talking with people, eventually something will trigger the way to avoid the roadblock.
Yeah. Perhaps taking more showers would help.
Yeah.
Well,
running, jogging, yes.
I used
think
to
almost
joke
anything.
that my biggest invention happened 3 months into my postdoc, and my career had been going downhill ever since. So concerning the issue of blockage, it's of course an excellent advice to do something else, not to waste all your time, but from time to time, go back to the original problem that you got stuck at. And you'll be surprised how often, after, 6 months of not thinking about it, now you return to it and suddenly you see things differently due to what you have done in other areas, what you read, etc. So don't forget to revisit things that you were stuck at from time to time. But don't do 100% of your time, don't spend 100% of your time on things where you make no progress at all.
What about my first question? Do you feel the pressure to maintain your success as maybe Nobel Prize scientists, or as all the achievements you've made and everyone here is looking up to you, do you feel any pressure to kind of make sure that you don't let other people who look up to you down?
You have to realize that the big inventions are rare.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't expect to get 3 Nobel Prizes, one after the other. Usually one is the best you can hope for. So it's a mistake to feel after winning a big prize that you now must work even harder in order to win a similar prize again. You just, as was said before, we all feel that it's fun doing science, and we continue working on what interests us, and we don't care about the issue of prizes anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have 5 minutes left. We'll take a question from this side.
Okay, thank you, professors. I'm Chen Weidong, a research fellow from National University of Singapore. So yesterday, a Nobel Prize winner said he found the neutrino oscillation because of good luck. And today, another Nobel Prize winner said he accidentally found out the quantum effect, Hall effect. So I don't buy it. I think there should be some special secret, right? Special reasons leading to this success.
No,
so because you great scientists are always humble, so based on your own experience, can you just summarize some most important factors or key points for you to measure your own achievements? I want to know these reasons behind this success are common or different. Okay,
I can give you from my experience, the reason I was successful in finding this crypto system was because I knew nothing about cryptography. Knowing nothing about the field sometimes is the secret ingredient, because had I known how crypto systems were typically constructed by the experts, I would have followed exactly the same footpath and tried in vain using old techniques. But I knew nothing about the field, and as a result, I was trained as a mathematician, and I was trying to apply my mathematical skills, and I was thinking about it from a totally different perspective than anyone else who was an expert in the field. So sometimes ignorance is a blessing.
Yeah, you need the luck that your research path takes you past something in view of something that actually wasn't known about, and you can make a new discovery. So luck is an incredibly important part of things. Of course, you need to have the preparation that you can actually see there's something interesting. But again, that's the whole point. If you walking along in your research career, you have to take the time. Maybe something shows up on the side, and you need to be able to devote some of your time. You may have a big goal to go straight ahead, but if you've got the chance to check out anything that's unusual that you come from the side, very, very occasionally that will be something that is amazing, but most of the time it won't be. But so you can be a really, really smart, genius, and the genius's luck may not take him past that remarkable thing. He or she can only kind of go for the things that they imagine in their head. Usually these things are things that you didn't imagine about, and so luck and the ability to take advantage of your luck. It's the same advice I guess they give in business school, right? You have to be motivated, and you do need the luck. You need to take advantage of luck when it presents itself, and it's a random process that you can't guarantee in your career. But I think anyone who does research has a possibility, perhaps a very small one, but one that they may come across something that no one knew existed, and it turns out to be important. And I don't think you said that scientists are kind of modest. I don't think scientists are modest usually. There's a lot of strong personalities in science. Yeah.
All right, great, thanks. We do have slightly more than 1 minute, so I think we're just going to take one last question from the lady over there. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Live Bilela, a PhD student in Karolinska Institutet in Sweden. And I wanted to ask you about the challenges with dealing with issues with like senior researchers. Like, for example, recently I was writing a paper, and one of the co-authors, instead of sending their comments to me about the paper itself, they will send them to my supervisors. And then when asked about it to my supervisors, they told me that certain researchers, especially senior ones, don't trust young researchers, especially PhD students or young people with the topic and the knowledge in the research area. So yeah, my question is how you will deal with these kind of issues. Yeah.
Don't take it as an insult. It's quite natural for someone who wants to make some comments about a field to send it to their supervisor or to the person who is the most experienced in the field, because they might know each other. The person who sends the comments might feel that his comments will be best understood by the senior person in the group. So the fact that you were not addressed directly shouldn't be taken as an insult at all.
I mean, you're presumably collaborating with your supervisor, so he's part of the research too, or he or she is part of the research too.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Oh.
Yeah, I would take it as an insult. I think it's absolutely disgusting when people behave that way.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, thanks everyone for a lively discussion. Unfortunately, lunch is beckoning, and we need to end today's panel session. I would really like to thank the panelists for passionately sharing their advice and experiences to our young scientists. I hope that this session has been inspirational to all of you, and looking forward to your future scientific contributions. All right, all the best, everyone.